When engaging in rideshare, whether driving for Uber or Lyft, there are times when drivers come to realize they actually are transporting either a criminal or the mentally ill. Sometimes both. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim with another ride sharing video. Now, this one comes to you out of Omaha, Nebraska. I didn't think they'd get down like this, but this story pertains to what we talked about in the opening. Criminals and mentally ill. Title of this story: 28-year-old man arrested after allegedly stabbing an Uber driver attempting to rob Omaha dollar store with a knife. Now, you hear the weapon of choice, which is why we're talking about the difference between criminals and mentally ill. It could be either or. Now, William Demas II apparently is the suspect in this case, but hear how the investigators state this. Investigators said Demas was given a ride to the store by an Uber driver, and when they arrived at the store, Demas demanded the key fob and then stabbed the driver, identified as 42-year-old Matthew Tipton, in the neck and chest. Now, clearly this is attempted murder. Being stabbed in the neck or the chest can be fatal. Certainly being stabbed in both, you got to go with attempted murder, because this absolutely could have taken the driver's life. We're going to talk about defensive tools, but understand there are situations where there are very few options to be had. But just to close the story up, Demas then ran inside the Family Dollar, showed the knife, and held an employee against their will, investigators said. He was actually ultimately arrested in the store fighting with employees. Now, remember, he only had a knife, but he was arrested at the scene by authorities. We talked about criminals versus mentally ill because, listen, folks, we live in a society where almost half of Americans have access to a firearm. So we know a knife in a lot of robberies is not a sufficient tool. Now, in this case, you're trying to stab up the driver and you want the key fob. You're not asking for a wallet or anything else. Then you go in a store and you're trying to rob a dollar store with only a knife. Mentally ill certainly sounds like it's at play here, because generally in this society where everybody's armed, if you're going to try to rob somebody, you probably should have a gun. A knife, obviously it gets done sometimes, but the chances of you being shot by somebody trying to operate as a robber with only a knife, I tend to think that what's going on here sounds like a possible case of mental illness. Nevertheless, this fucker needs to be shot. Doesn't matter if he's mentally ill or not. Once you start trying to harm people and takes folks' lives, it is what it is. But we want to talk about this from a standpoint of, this is what drivers go through, folks. I've covered a number of videos of passengers beating the hell out of drivers. There are drivers that have been raped, and plenty of them that have lost their lives at the hands of their passengers. So while we do advise keeping defensive tools on you, mace, something to slice or poke with up to and including a firearm if you're comfortable with that, I don't know in this case if there is much that could be done. If a passenger is sitting behind you and picks the most advantageous time to pull out a knife and start shanking the shit out of you, I don't know if there's much you can do about it. Certainly if he starts stabbing you about the neck and chest. They're behind you, so there is a tactical advantage for them to begin with. Now, I talk about having defensive tools on you, but if something happens quick enough, there may not be anything you can do. And unfortunately, we don't have, like the taxi business did, we don't have partitions in our vehicles to prevent a passenger from coming up and doing something like that. But in this case, fortunately, they did catch the guy. It does not sound like the driver was a homicide victim. It sounds like the driver did survive. They didn't go too deep into detail as to the condition of the driver, but he obviously won't be driving anytime soon, being stabbed in both the neck and chest. But wanted to bring it to you because there's no shortage of us that do get hurt on the job. I really believe that if Uber did give a damn about drivers, if they wanted to show some goodwill to us, because most of us don't trust Uber or Lyft, do not view the companies in high regard, they could at least take up a GoFundMe, something that they don't even have to pay for. to show some love to drivers that go through this shit. There's a lot of them. There is a lot of them. I've already done a video suggesting folks don't even drive in Chicago because they've had almost a dozen robberies in the span of 2 weeks. And the individuals perpetrating these crimes have not even been caught, so they're still out in the loose somewhere. But when folks are victimized while engaging in rideshare, the companies should do something for the driver. I don't care if it's a small stipend to keep them getting by. I mean, we have insurance through rideshare. You hear Derek Costa-Shari talking about paying a high commercial insurance. That shit does nothing for us. $2,500 deductible, ain't nobody using that shit. So what's the purpose of even having insurance that'll never be used by 99.9% of the damn drivers? I'd rather have insurance in case something like this happens. You take care of the family. Leave a little something behind. Or perhaps create a very low cost insurance that the drivers could purchase so that if something happens to them on the job, they could have something to leave behind to their family. $10 a week or something like that, where if something happens to you on the job, either it covers you until you heal or they leave a little bit of change behind for your family. That would be more beneficial than that $2,500 deductible shit they got out there now they're calling insurance that doesn't even cover you, I believe, when you're en route to pick up a passenger. Their insurance is fucking useless. Something like this would be of value. Send the driver's family a little card of sympathy or whatever. I get it's not going to make much of a difference, but at least it shows your fucking care and you're actually aware of what's going on. Most of these cases, the response is a robotic answer that makes the folks trying to reach out to Uber or Lyft believe you're not even willing to entertain what we're trying to tell you. You're sitting back pre-programmed responses that don't have shit to do with what I'm reaching out to you about. I strongly believe they could extend some goodwill by stepping up in cases like this and helping out the drivers or at least their family members. But what say you folks out there? Omaha, Nebraska, wow. Have you ever transported a criminal where you felt confident? Obviously, drug dealing is a big thing that folks do, utilizing Uber and Lyft to take them to drop-off points or to pick up drugs. But do you believe you ever transported a criminal? Maybe somebody who just robbed somebody or just beat the hell out of their wife or something and they need a ride to get away from the location before the police arrive. If you had a criminal in your vehicle, did you interact with him at all? Kick him out the vehicle? Let your boy know in the comments. As always, subscribe to the channel. Stay safe. Keep your defensive tools on you with every ride. And I'll see you in the next video.